Peace, family. Welcome to another episode of Broken Theory. Today we got our guest, HASHIGATA. What up?
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
What's going on?
Finesse, baby.
Where you based out of?
Well, right now I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, but I moved here going on 2 years. I'll make 2 years in January. I'm Phoenix. It's awesome. They have a really great basically like art scene and music scene out here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's real dope, man. I definitely want to take a trip out there. I work with a couple artists from out there, so definitely got to make something happen out there one day.
It's different because it's so tight knit. Whereas like in New York, like people, like you get to know people over time. But over here, people. Like it's just a tight knit community. You see faces again and again and again, and eventually you actually get to know these people well. Whereas in New York City, like I used to perform, but like I'll see an artist and then maybe never see him again.
Yep.
You know, where over here is like I'll see him in 2 weeks and we'll be like, oh my God, I remember from here, you performed here. I'm like, yeah. And then that sparks a conversation of, oh, well, what do you do? What do you do? And then it also sparks like, oh, wow, I like your sound. Let's collab. Like, it's just so much more easy to create long lasting relationships here. And I think for me, it matters. That's why I like it so much.
Your fans love you and they wanted to know what's up. So I definitely want to share what they have for you, and we'll just start here.
All right.
Somebody said, have you ever taken professional vocal lessons, or are you just that talented? Resurrect selects.
When I think of vocal lessons, I think like you go to someone and you spend like 2 hours one-on-one singing while this person, trains you. That's what I think vocal lessons are. The type of vocal lessons that I do have experience in is in choir. So it was as a group, you know what I mean? It's not like singling you out. So I do know how to sing in a group and how to enunciate and how to sing where you guys kind of mesh well together. So that kind I have, but one-on-one, no. I'll have artists that I love and I'll try to really strengthen my voice. And like, let's say somebody does a run that is like, how did they do that run? I'll practice that run like homework. And I'll butcher it for like 2 weeks until one day I'm like, oh my God, I did it,
Is that something you're doing by yourself, or is that something you're doing like everywhere?
I do. So I go on TikTok live and sometimes I'll be like, hey guys, I'm going to try this run. If it sounds bad, I'm sorry, but you're here. So, and I do it all the time and I just try my best, really.
That's what's up.
You have to give as I feel like when you want to get better at something, even if you're not doing a professional coach, you still need to train yourself to get better and how to do it and practice like homework. If it's your true passion.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
What is your morning ritual routine, and how does it set the tone for the day?
I have an underwhelming answer for that. I don't have one. I don't have I know there's people who are like, oh, every morning I meditate for 30 minutes or every morning I have this. Man, I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, where you wake up, wipe your eyes, brush your teeth, and you're running to the train and you're running and doing this. And you don't think, so I think this is what I think sets me a little different. Like I don't really have a morning routine, but I do have a state of mind that I keep my mind in. It's either it gets done or it doesn't. I'm not trying to convince myself what I can do. It's do it. So I think it's more of a state of mind that keeps me going, not like a mantra in the morning. I don't have that because every morning is different. I have children, so maybe my morning's horrible because the baby woke up at 5 a.m. and I've been up since then. You're like, I don't know.
It's real unpredictable.
I don't have a predictable morning schedule that I can keep, but I do always keep in my head, you either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's it. You have no other choice. And that's, I think, I give that to my New York state of mind. You either do it or you don't. You get up, you get that check, or you don't. That's it. There's no, I have to convince myself I want to do this. Do you want it or you don't? That's it. And it gets down to that. And I feel like when you think in those black and white terms without that gray area, like, well, I want it, but I feel like this and that. No, do you want it or you don't? And that's it.
Nah, I damn sure I relate to that and feel that.
Yeah. So that's the state of mind that I keep myself in, that I don't necessarily feel like, I mean, I do pray, I pray to God, I'll be like, today I want this, or tomorrow, or I'm very thankful throughout my day. If something happens that I'm like, oh, that's a message from God, or that's, you know what I mean? I say thank you, and I'll give thanks. But other than that, I don't have a morning routine at all.
I dig it. What kind of magic do you do?
So when I was younger, I did dabble, more than dabble. It was a lifestyle. I would practice spell casting. I read tarot, and my belief system is similar but different now, though. So I don't necessarily think that I won't consider it saying, oh, I do magic. I practice magic. I practice the magic arts. Right now, I consider it as practicing prayer. Like if you write a letter down of your dreams and your goals, you seal it, burn a candle, I feel like that can be magic, but it could also just be intention. So I think when I was younger, I considered it as magic, but now it's just pure intention. And it's the same thing, really. Like whoever, you pray or you chant, you write a letter to God, or you spell cast, you burn candles. I mean, they burn candles in church. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think it's just your intention behind it. So I do things like that. Like I'll burn candles and I'll seal certain letters with wax and things like that. But it's really my intention. I'm manifesting to the Lord my intention. But you can call it spell casting. You can if you want to. But
it's really, all about how you perceive things.
Yeah, it's really the same thing. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah, 100%. What's your perspective on singing and how you think your journey and intellect contribute to your approach?
Okay, so my approach has changed. So before I was like, I want to get on the radio. I want to be known. What are they doing that makes it that they're known? What equation are they following, the big names, that I need to follow so I can get there? That used to be my mentality. That was like, that's my journey. But when I actually rebranded myself when I left New York City, and I said, well, that is not the journey that I want. I want a more, what's the word? Journey specific to what I want to do. Something more true, more pure. So I had to think about like, why do I sing? Why do I create? Am I doing it to be famous, or am I doing it because it's my passion? And I had to go down to the roots of why I do this and realize it's because of my passion. So my journey now, I want to create music that either brings a message. My journey is to bring a message. My journey is to bring people together. And I think of music more as, instead of like, oh, this is my diary, I make music for me so I could be famous. I make music so that we find some sort of some sense of community, And like, actually, I was just having this conversation recently, and it was over a TikTok video that I had seen. And it was the lead singer of System of a Down. And he was like, I don't understand why, artists don't get more political, because as an artist, that is our job, to lead. Because as an artist, you're a leader. You're leading people. Where are you going to lead these people? Your listeners. So I think my journey is either to lead you into peace, to lead you into change, a sense of community, self-love. And even if I wanted to get political, to try to teach right and wrong, or at least, because right and wrong obviously is subjective. But what I think, if I was to do that, it'd be in a peaceful way to say, hey, this is immoral, and I'd have that message. So yeah, I think now I create music to lead instead of to use it as to be somebody,
I got you.
Yeah.
Finesse, baby.
I feel like that's our job. That's our responsibility as an artist, is to lead, because that's your power. It's like spellcasting, chanting. You're leading people. Where are you going to lead them? I feel like we have a responsibility to lead people in, the right way.
That's definitely an interesting perspective. I never kind of looked at it like that. Like, of course, being a man and having children, I look at myself like trying to be a good role model for my kids. But like, developing an audience, that's something that you never realize until you already have one. You know what I mean? At first, it starts off like, you're just making music for yourself, or, however, everybody's different.
No, absolutely. And I think that's the change that maybe you realize over time, because I think when you gain those listeners, and you gain that group of people, demographic of people who fall in love with what you are and how authentic you are, then you realize, how I want to entertain, but now do I have a responsibility to lead these people to a better life, to a better way of thinking? And I feel like once you are in power, like Beyonce, Rihanna, I feel like you do owe a responsibility to lead us. Once you've gained that type of stardom and idol, like you have, I think that's because with power comes responsibility. Yep. The more power you have, now you have to really think about how you're going to use that power. So yes, I think we all start as like, oh, I want to create because this is how I feel. But then when other people feel the same, and you gain that body of human beings who want to be on your level and love your music and then that responsibility starts coming in.
How are some of the ways that you kind of realize that responsibility with your music?
It took time. But it became when, in performing and meeting people and seeing how my music moves them. I mean, I've sung music and had people literally crying or convulsing with tears and just watching me. And I'm like, whoa, this is a power. This is not just a song. This is a power. And when you realize the power you have, I feel like it makes you want to be like, wow, I want to lead these people into, a healthier lifestyle, a healthier mindset. Look how much I can move this person. Now, how can I heal this person? How can I help this person? How can I change their life? Remind them that the world is a magical place with faith. Like, how do I instill those things? And actually seeing people in the audience, these people I've met. I performed in Kingman, Arizona for Pride out there, and I met a woman. She was actually helping the event, so she was backstage with me while I was getting ready. And she came in. She was like, "Oh my gosh, you're HASHIGATA." I'm like, "Yeah, nice to meet you." And she's like, "I've had your music in my playlist for like 2 years now." She's like, "I love your music." And I don't know my listeners. I don't know it. Spotify gives you how many you have, but you don't know them. And so to see how moved and excited that I was there, I mean, I'm not big. I'm not a big somebody. I won't say I'm a nobody, because I don't believe anybody's a nobody. But like I said, I'm not stardom. But the way she reacted was like, wow, there's a power there. How do I wield it correctly? So that's how I think I realized, like, I want to do this right. I want to do this right. I don't want to drop the ball on this one, because it's a power, and you're responsible to use it properly.
I mean, it just speaks wonders, you know what I'm saying, on you as a person, that you would even do that, you know what I mean, and care for your listeners that much to want to impact their life in a positive way, like no other artists have.
I do. I really, really do. It's really important to me. I remember what music did for me. When I first started singing, I didn't know I sounded good, but all I had was a boombox, and I had the Pink Misunderstood CD. And I remember like just screaming her music, and it moved me. Like that CD, I kind of had a hard childhood, and that CD saved me. And because I felt like she's speaking, like Family Portrait, I was like, oh, that's my life. Lonely Girl, oh, that's how I feel. Like going to California, wanting to run away. Like all those songs, I'm like, that album, I felt like it was made for me. So if I know that can do that for me, that means my music can do that for other people.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started writing?
So I wrote as a kid. I mean, like middle school. I mean, I was published in a poetry book when I was like in a book of poems when I was 9. And then I just loved writing. And I have some really like sad writing though. Sometimes I go back, you know, when you read poetry, you're like, this is cringe. I'm like, oh my God, I was such a sad little middle schooler. So I was writing a lot, but I wasn't really turning them into songs. It was just poetry. And then I stopped for a while, and it's like almost like I forgot I could sing until I had a really bad breakup when I was either 19 or 20, or I think 20 years old. And I didn't know where to put these feelings. I just didn't know how to know where to put it. And it was crazy because I didn't really make heartbreak music. I actually made music about like acid trips and this and that and the third, you know, but I still had so much to let out. And then I just started making like a song a day, bang, bang, bang. And then it just started coming. And then I think I realized this is how I wield this power. Look at all the stuff I have in me. It's just falling out. I didn't know how to tap into it. I feel like I forgot how to tap into that part of myself for a good like 5 years until this one time where I just felt so low and sad and in need to be creative. And it, I guess, made that connection with that self that I hadn't used in so long. And that's how that happened. And I started creating, and ever since then I was making songs, making songs. And it just took like this really, really horrible breakup.
So at what age would you say? About 20 you started like taking singing seriously?
No, I didn't. I was just doing it for myself and dropping it on SoundCloud. But I was like, you know, whatever, I'm doing it for fun. When I started taking it seriously, like I want to, you know, I want to do something with this, wasn't 20, I want to say 2017, 2018. I want to say 2018. That's when I actually started meeting people. Like I started putting myself out there with music. I started meeting people who are in the industry, and I met a producer named Gio Nalati, and he saw like, he was like, oh my God, you need to come into the studio, you know, and we created this relationship where, you know, I make music for him, he throws me beats. And it was a really like, I work in the studio for him, he sends me music, and then he'll master it, mix and master it. And that's how we'd swap. Like I do him, he does me. Bop, 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 bop. And that's when I started getting a lot of music. And he also taught me the workflow. Like I was creating music off of my computer, but I didn't really know the workflow of an actual studio. And he allowed me to dive into that with basically no money. So I was able to really like get into what that experience is, being in a studio, doing this creative and all the things that come along with just making the song. So yeah, I was able to make a song, but I didn't know all the other things that went into it as well. It's not just writing a song. It's a lot more than that. It's recording it, mastering it, listening to it. What parts do you, it's layering, it's so much. And I didn't know about that. So when I met Gio, he gave me that opportunity. He, to this day, actually, I've been working with him since 2018. And I've worked with other producers. I don't like the way they make my music, my songs, or my voice sound. And I always end up going back to him. Like, I just love the way he masters my music and my vocals. And yeah, that's how that started. When I started taking it seriously, and I think it's because I was given the avenue to learn, so that I knew how to take it seriously, because I didn't know how.
And you were able to experience it firsthand.
Yeah. And I wasn't like trying to figure out how to save money up for studio time. I was literally like, hey, yo, I got this beat you be fire on. Can you record the vocals of this? So I'd record a whole song for him, and then after he'd send me the beat like a week ahead of time, and then I'd record a whole song for me. You know, and that we worked hand in hand, and honestly, it was a blessing because it helped me get to where I am now.
Absolutely. Those relationships are very important. But like going from there, learning about how everything pretty much ticks. What drove you to getting your own home studio, and what were some of the first things that you bought?
Well, first off, when I started getting to the studio, I was already a mother. Mm-hmm. And when you become a mom, you're no longer on your schedule. That's not yours. Your life is, you don't have your own schedule. You don't control your schedule. And when when I realized I wanted to do it more and more and more and more and more, I was like, nah, I need my own studio. I need to learn how to do it. I need to learn how to, and that's when Gio actually, he taught me. He was like, all right, this is what you need. This is how you get it. And he actually gave me FL Studios for free. Like Gio always had my back. Like seriously had my back. And anything I needed, he either taught me how to do it or gave it to me. He was like, I got this version of this. You want this? And if I ever had a problem, I'm like, I'm in the studio, I'd call him and I'm like, this is doing this. All right, it could be this, or that. You need to do this, lift up the, that's how it was. He literally like held my hand through the beginning of it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I mean, having that experience, to somebody to just kind of guide you, I never had that experience, but like because I never had that experience, I always wanted to be the one to provide it. So like, when I'm working with people and they don't have no type of background in recording, I'm like so excited to let them know like how to go about things.
Right. Yeah. I'm the same way. Like even like TikTok, I've had people go, hey, what's your setup? I don't gatekeep. I'll be like, DM me on Instagram so I can send you photos. Cause on TikTok, these like links don't be linkable. Like it'd be confusing. Like it's annoying. So I'll be like, here, add me on Instagram and I'm gonna show you what my setup is, what you need. I'll even send them links of like an interface that's affordable, and because I know what it feels like when you're just and you're in the dark. You don't know what the hell you're doing. When I first started doing the TikTok, I asked a few TikTok people and everybody gatekeeped until this one dude who actually I'm about to hit as many followers as him, which is lit. But he was, a singer, TikTok singer, and I hit him up. I was like, hey, what's your setup? And this is like after 10 people that were like either left me on red or just beat around the bush. He said, all right, this is what you got to do. And he just broke it down. He was like, this to this, you need the iRig, da-da-da. I was like, oh. And he didn't gatekeep. And I hate gatekeepers because at the end of the day, you're not going to be the first and you're not going to be the last. Why are you gatekeeping? You're not that special. Calm down. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I think it's like people that aren't creative, you know what I'm saying? That they're scared that their thing that they're known for or their secret, you know what I mean, will kind of level the playing field and they won't be as special as they think they are. You know what I mean? Like in their own
way. I do get that.
I understand the concept, but it's just like, bro, you had to find out shit the hard way. Imagine if somebody just like gave you the game and was just like, here you go, every step of the way.
Yeah. Like, and not only that, as many people I gave the game, a lot of them don't even use it.
Yeah, they don't even listen.
They don't listen. Or they'll be like, yeah. I'll be like, hey, did you get it yet? They'll be like, well, one day you're going to help somebody who they're going to get it the next day. Be like, yo, I got this. Is this hooked up right? And that's the type of people you want to help. But you don't know who's who. You know what I mean? Like, just don't gatekeep.
Nah, for real, 100%. Yeah. How are some of the ways that you do inner work?
Inner work. A lot of writing, a lot of praying. I do a lot of self-reflection, and you won't know when I'm doing it because I'm doing it all the time. I could be sitting somewhere and just self-reflecting about like maybe something I did, something I said. And I try to look at every part of the experience of what happened, what was said to me, or how did I handle this? How could it have been better? And I'm reading, I've never finished it. I'm horrible with finishing books, but I started reading this book called Rewire the Brain. And it basically talks about how to rewire your brain. And yes, you can obviously do it in therapy, but you can also do it at home. And what you do is you decide who you want to be. And then before you can make the decision who you want to be, you have to figure out the reasons why you are now and what keeps you from being that person. And when you realize how that, and you want to make that connection from version A of you to version B of you, and there's going to be a million versions, because obviously you always want to be better than yesterday. You have to figure out how to do it, and you self-reflect. You just be like, I feel shameful. Like, even if you're like, when you do something, or like before you have like the idea of what's the word integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's born with integrity. Some people are born with it, but like, yeah, it was me, I did it, I messed up. And some people, they have to learn integrity. Mm-hmm. Right? But you want to be that person. You want to be the person who owns what they did, and changes what they did. Even if you don't do it immediately, you try to get to become that person. Mm-hmm. You have to reflect and be honest with yourself, instead of going, I did it and that's how I felt, I don't care. Does that really make you feel good? And you have to learn humility. You have to learn, I'm embarrassed at how I acted. And you have to admit to yourself that you are, instead of trying to push it on the rug. Well, whatever. That's how I act sometimes. Whatever. You have to be honest with yourself and literally have humility. And so I self-reflect a lot. And I have some people who were quote unquote role models who showed me what I didn't want to be. Mm-hmm. So it caused me to be a person who tries to be very aware of self and and reflect on themselves, because I know what I don't want. And so I do that a lot. Sometimes I'll just get quiet, and I could look mad, but I'm really just self-reflecting. Mm-hmm. What happened? How can I change this? And you won't always win. Like, you'll be like, oh, this is the change I want to make. This is the root of it. And sometimes getting to the root of it, you're cutting at leaves. Is that the root? No, it goes deeper than that. Next thing you know, it's about your childhood. You know what I mean? Like, mm-hmm. You got to really dig deep and cut away at the root until you get to what that seed is. And that's kind of how I do it. Not that I'm not against therapy, but I'm scared of therapy because everybody has their own paradigm. Mm-hmm. So that therapist has their own paradigm. Yeah, they're licensed, they're a professional, but at the same time, I don't know what they're going through. Like, I don't need you to teach me something wronger than I already thought was wrong. Like, I don't know. Like, it's tough. And that's what they say, or psychiatrist shop or therapist shop, because you might not fit the first one. But I feel like that's just a really complicated journey that I haven't delved into. I want to, I do, I need it. But yeah, I just self-reflect to change. And I want change so bad that I will try to do everything in my power. Even if I fail, I make the same mistake again. Eventually I won't. And I know that, and I have faith that I won't. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's only by experience that you learn that, but it's good, you know what I mean, coming from a place. Like, I see a lot of what you say and how you feel about music and just overall in life, you're coming from a place of gratitude, you know what I mean? And it just like shows in every aspect of your life.
Absolutely. Very much so. And I wasn't always like that. Well, not always, but for a long time, I thought I had this pessimistic, why me? Why them? Why do they? As a child, I was a very jealous person, because I was like, how is it that they get that type of family and I get mine? Why do they have, an in-ground pool and I live in an apartment? Why does this kid have this and I don't have that? Like, why? I was very and it's jealousy. And the only reason why I know I can say that is because I have humility, and I knew, and I had to realize that I needed more gratitude in my life for what I do have, to be able to rise, to gain the things that I even want to have. Because then you become your own crutch and rolling around in your own self-pity that you can't even get the things that those people have. Yeah,
because you're so stuck on a low frequency.
Exactly.
When you were talking about that, it just made me think of something. Did you ever think of why maybe that you kind of grew up with that perspective of why me, like what put it in your head to kind of like think like that?
That's crazy. I've done a lot of reflection, and I know that I did that, but I have never thought about why I did that. But
I figured I asked because I didn't know if you did or not. So
no,
I just wanted to bring that to the forefront because of what you said earlier about like kind of doing the deep work.
Yeah, I never thought about why. Well, okay. So growing up, like I was missing things, right? But I wasn't like, like when you're missing things and you don't have things, but nobody else does. So you don't notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was around people I was around people that had a lot more. And I'm like, how am I rubbing elbows? And like, there's times where I've gone hungry. You know what I mean? But after school, sometimes I go to my friend's house and she's down the block and she's living a whole different world of life. She's yelling at her mom, like, why didn't you give me the ketchup? And I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think I feel like I had people just in close proximity who lived just a lot more privileged lifestyle than me. And I'd go home and I'd feel lonely or, and I'd just be like, but why? Why me?
Finesse, baby.
Why? And, and maybe I needed somebody to blame. I don't know. But I had a very pessimistic, jealous, and I had to learn how to stop being jealous. And it took a long time. Like, that whole thing where they say, like, don't scroll because it makes you start feeling bad about yourself. These people don't show their real life. I was doing that before Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing that way before Instagram. I didn't even, I'm talking about like 9, 8, 7, like very young. And I had to learn to have gratitude. And it took me a while.
Absolutely. Was there ever a situation that looked unfavorable that turned out to be like the best thing for you?
Oh man, where do I go? Yes.
So many, right?
Couple. So many where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna come out of this one.
Yeah.
Oh man. Damn, that's a tough one. Let me think. A tough situation that I didn't think I was going to be able to get out of. I don't want to get too deep. But there are a lot of situations in my life where I felt like I was doomed. Like my life was out of my control. For example, I have one. My mom had her issues. We went down and we moved to Miami in a van, me and my 2 sisters. I don't know why. We just got up and we left. We didn't even have a U-Haul. All our stuff was left, a house full of things. And she was like, we gotta go. And I'm like, okay, because that's my mom. We get down to Miami and we check into a motel. And then she leaves me and my 2 infant sisters, baby girls, like one, and they're literally like 9 months apart. So when one turned 1, the other one was like a month. And she left me with them for a couple days in the motel. And
how old were you? Yeah.
I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And then next thing you know, social services comes knocking at the door. And they're like, you need to let me in. And so I let them in. And they're like, you need to pack up all your things. We're taking you guys into custody. And it was just a horrible, scary, don't know what's happening with my life. I was, me and my sisters had different fathers. My 2 sisters had one father. I have my own. So we got separated. I didn't go into the system, thank God, because I had family who, were there. But so being that we were already in Miami, their grandmother came to pick up my 2 sisters and left. And I was then my dad's sister's husband's sister came to pick me up and took me to Fort Myers, and I stayed in her house for 2 days. Who I didn't know her. It was just a scary time in my life, and to take me to New York to go to my dad. And mind you, I didn't live with my dad. I used to see him like, it started off once a week, but then it became like once a month, every 2 months. It just got seldom. And I don't know whose fault it is. I don't know, because I know my mom could also be a little vindictive. But I also don't know if my dad was just a young kid who just was doing his thing. I don't know. I was too young. But my dad got custody of me, and it was one of the hardest times in my life. I didn't know what to expect. I had come from raising 2 little girls. My mom would leave for a couple days and I wouldn't be able to go to school, but I was raising 2 little girls. Mm-hmm. And I was 8 and 9 years old. And it was very unhealthy, but it's what I knew. And when my dad got custody of me, I thought, my mom, I need my mom, who was actually the problem, and my dad. When I thought it was like the worst thing in my life. But in reality, it was probably the best thing, because my dad had a whole different idea of how to raise me, and he gave me structure. Like, I didn't have structure. Like, my mom taught me at a young age her signature, so she didn't have to sign papers. So wow. She didn't really know what was going on in my school life, because she just was busy in hers, you know? So it was a time where I felt doomed, but it actually, in the long run, as an adult, was the best thing that probably happened to me.
Absolutely.
Best thing for me. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, before we go, I definitely want to ask you, when does the next album come out?
So it was supposed to come out July, and it's already the end of July. I was supposed to hit the ground running when I came back from Dominican Republic, but then this happened, then I got COVID, then this happened, and so now I'm looking at everything, and it's an EP, but now it's turning into an album because the body is growing and growing. So I'm gonna say solidly, I don't see anything before Halloween. I don't, because it's just growing and growing. Like, I wrote a song yesterday. No, it took 2 days. It took me, I started the day before yesterday and I finished it yesterday. And I mean, the song is like, oh man, it's so good. And the album is called Bloom, because I have a few old songs on there that are really old. And I have songs that I'm adding as well. I'm remaking the old ones, and then I'm adding newer songs. And it actually shows my progression as a person, and not just in how I sing, but in my mental and how I think about certain things. Mm-hmm. That's why it's called Bloom, because it's that gradual change. And like, I have a song called Little Brooklyn Girl, growing up in Brooklyn and thinking I was grown and this, that, and the third. I have a song called Unworthy, which was a time in my life where I literally thought I was unworthy of things. And I think it was also because of the neglect. So for a long time, I was a people pleaser. And because and it was literally because I just didn't value myself. I didn't think that people would want me just for wanting me, that I had to please them for them to want me. And I think that came from being neglected at a young age. So it's just growing so much that I don't see, like I said, I don't see anything before Halloween.